This is a second chance.
Marvel just did something no one saw coming. They took a movie that already ended, a movie where the hero literally grew old and walked away, and they slipped 4 brand new minutes into it. Not a director's cut nobody asked for, not a nostalgic cash grab. 4 minutes that quietly answer a question fans have been arguing about for 6 years, and set the fuse on the biggest crossover in movie history. Here's the thing. When Avengers Endgame ended in 2019, it felt like the door closed. Tony was gone, Steve was old. The credits rolled and everybody went home satisfied. But satisfied doesn't mean finished. Because buried in that ending was a loose thread Marvel never actually tied off. And now, right before Avengers Doomsday hits theaters, they're pulling on it. So let's talk about what's actually in this re-release, why it matters way more than a simple welcome back to theaters stunt, and how a guy on a motorcycle, a mischievous god with a badge, and a broken man in a bombed-out world are all connected in ways you probably didn't expect. Let's start with the scene everyone's talking about. After the credits roll on this new version of Endgame, we don't get a blank screen. We get Steve Rogers, young Steve, the version who walked off with the Infinity Stones, promising to put them back, and never came back himself. In this new footage, he's riding up to that same suburban house we all caught a glimpse of at the very end of the original film. Except now there's more to see. Time has passed. There's a kid, a whole quiet little life Steve built with Peggy Carter, exactly the way he always wanted. And for a second, it feels warm, nostalgic, almost too peaceful. That's when the door opens and Loki walks in. Not movie villain Loki, not chaotic god of mischief Loki. This is TVA Loki, badge in hand, Yggdrasil symbol glowing, all business. And what he tells Steve completely flips the moment on its head. Steve staying here living this life isn't just a happy ending, a big one. His presence is quietly ripping a hole in reality, the kind of thing the TVA calls a nexus event. And if it's left alone, it doesn't just cause a glitch, it causes an incursion. One universe slamming into another, total annihilation. So Loki does something unexpected. Instead of pruning Steve's timeline, instead of erasing him and his family like the TVA is built to do, he offers a way out. He moves them. Steve, Peggy, their son, all of it, relocated to a different reality entirely, one where they can exist without breaking anything. And where does he send them? Earth 828, the retro 60s universe tied to the Fantastic Four. There's a small, almost throwaway detail in the scene. Steve's son sitting in front of the TV, watching a cartoon version of the Fantastic Four. And it seems like nothing, a cute little Easter egg, but it's not. It's the seed of everything that comes next. Because Earth 828 isn't just some random parking spot for a displaced family. It's the birthplace of the villain who's about to tear the multiverse apart. Let's talk about Dr. Doom, because here's where this whole thing stops being a cute crossover cameo and starts being the actual engine of Avengers Doomsday. On Earth 828, Victor Von Doom wasn't always a monster. According to the lore Sue Storm has referenced, he used to be brilliant, respected, a friend even to people who'd later become his enemies. But somewhere along the way, he lost everything. His family, his home, his entire world. And that loss didn't just hurt him, it hollowed him out and rebuilt him into someone obsessed with fixing what he sees as a cosmic wrong. Now picture this from Doom's side. Steve Rogers arrives from another universe, slips into a life, builds a family that by every rule of the multiverse was never supposed to exist there. And when Doom eventually uncovers the truth about incursions, about timelines bleeding into each other, he doesn't see coincidence, he sees theft. A life that came at the cost of Doom's own world falling apart. That's the moment Doom stops being a comic book name people vaguely remember and becomes something personal. His whole crusade in Doomsday isn't random conquest. It's revenge, dressed up as justice. He's not just trying to take over worlds, he's hunting down every stolen life across the multiverse, Steve's included, planning to erase the chaos and force everything into one single reality he controls completely. Suddenly, that quiet, happy ending on the porch doesn't feel so safe anymore, does it? Now here's where things get really interesting. Because this new footage doesn't just build toward Doomsday, it quietly fixes something that's bothered fans since 2019. Remember Old Man Cap? That final scene where Steve, impossibly old, sits on a bench and hands Sam Wilson the shield? For years, people have argued about how that even works. Time travel rules in the MCU were never exactly clean. Well, turns out the explanation was hiding in plain sight the whole time, just waiting for the right movie to unlock it. That bearded older Steve Rogers fans have spotted in trailers, that's not some alternate universe stand-in. That's him. The version living out his years on Earth 828, older now, watching as Dr. Doom's war spills across realities. And when Doom's campaign threatens to tear everything apart, Steve doesn't get to stay retired. He steps back in, one more fight, alongside heroes from timelines that were never supposed to meet. But here's the gut punch. They don't win, not the way you'd expect. The heroes fail to stop the collapse. Doom absorbs power from the shattering multiverse, and entire realities start fusing together. Earth 16, the X-Men universe, Earth 828, all of it smashed into a single patchwork world. That world has a name comic fans have been waiting years to hear on screen: Battleworld. If you know your Marvel comics, you already know where this is heading, and if you don't, buckle up, because this is straight out of one of the most beloved comic runs ever written, Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars. On Battleworld, Doom doesn't just rule, he becomes something closer to a god, and it's up to the surviving heroes, all of them, from every corner of the collapsing multiverse, to rise up and take him down. That's the entire premise of Avengers Secret Wars. This isn't a spin-off plotline, this is the main event, and Endgame just quietly handed us the first domino. Once Doom finally falls, the story doesn't just end in wreckage. Franklin Richards and the surviving heroes use what's left to reshape reality itself, stitching together a new unified continuity where mutants, the Fantastic Four, and the Avengers all just exist together. No more multiverse gymnastics required to explain why they were never in the same movies before. It's a clean slate, built out of chaos. And Steve, he finally gets to go home, back to his original place in history, back to Peggy, living out the rest of his life the way it was always meant to happen. That's the bench. That's Sam Wilson asking about the ring. That small, tired smile Steve gives isn't just about growing old with the woman he loved. It's the quiet relief of a man who just helped save the entire multiverse and never told anyone. Kind of changes how you watch that ending now, doesn't it? Now, the 4-minute scene isn't the only reason this re-release matters. Because tucked inside this Encore edition is something else. A vault of deleted material that's been sitting locked away since 2019, and some of it is genuinely heartbreaking. There's the scene where Tony Stark, right after the snap, is shown entering the Soul World and meeting an adult version of his daughter Morgan, who tells him in her own way that everything he sacrificed actually worked. There's a companion scene where Bruce Banner meets Natasha there too, a quiet moment of closure between two people who never really got to say goodbye. There's unused footage showing Bruce's transformation into Professor Hulk, originally meant to frame him as a hero the public embraced rather than feared, something the final cut never fully explained. And maybe the heaviest one, a scene where Steve Rogers returns to Vormir to put the Soul Stone back and comes face to face with Red Skull one more time. A reckoning nobody expected, cut for pacing, sitting in a vault for years. There's even a moment right after Tony's death where every hero kneels in tribute, while a past version of Gamora, one who never even knew this version of Tony, quietly walks away, confused by a sacrifice that meant nothing to her yet. And maybe the wildest piece of trivia in the whole package, early on Marvel executives actually pitched killing off all 6 original Avengers in this movie. It was the Russo brothers who pushed back and fought to keep them alive for what came next, which, looking at everything happening now with Doomsday, feels like one of the best creative decisions in franchise history. So why now? Why dig all this up and slot it directly in front of Doomsday? Because Marvel needs a bridge, and they know it. After the flood of Disney Plus shows and standalone films through Phase 4 and Phase 5, a lot of casual fans checked out. Too much homework, not enough payoff. So instead of asking people to catch up on dozens of hours of content, Marvel built a straight line. Endgame, 4 new minutes. Doomsday, that's it. That's the whole on-ramp. Even the way it's being shown in theaters is strategic. You'll see it marketed as Infinity Vision, a special expanded format Disney created because most major IMAX screens were already locked in for other big fall releases. So instead of losing the scale, they engineered a workaround to still make it feel massive on a regular screen. Every part of this re-release, the format, the deleted scenes, the new footage, is built around one goal: making sure nobody walks into Doomsday confused about how we got here. So here's where it leaves us. The movie we thought was a goodbye was actually a setup this whole time. Steve's quiet retirement wasn't the end of his story, it was the beginning of Doom's. And now the countdown is real. Every thread, Loki's badge, Earth 828, the bench, the ring, it all leads to one impossibly big question. Will Doctor Doom actually succeed in rewriting reality in his image? Or will a scattered, broken roster of multiversal heroes find a way to stop him before Battleworld becomes permanent? Drop your theory in the comments, because if this 4-minute scene taught us anything, it's that in the MCU, nothing is ever really over.